Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means? It's another call-in show. I kind of wish I had like a soundboard to do like one of those terrible horns, but I don't have one. Maybe I'll add that to the repertoire once we hit 10 million subscribers, and I have a decent amount of money to be able to do that. My name is Rodney. If you already knew that, thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. It is the call-in show. It's become a little bit of a cult classic. 2 episodes in the can, and they didn't absolutely bomb and fail, and people are still calling the number and leaving voicemails. If you have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, this channel has a number that you can call, which should be scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now. If you call that number, you can call any time, day or night, and you will hear my voicemail. Once you hear the voicemail, leave any message that you want, any question about the Raiders, about life, about music, movies, whatever you want to talk about. And I will probably get to it on the Tuesday call-in show. If you become a $5 patron, you have the ability to call in live. That's not going to happen today because I'm recording this at an unreasonable hour for people to be able to call in. But that is the plan moving forward. So if you want to join that Patreon, link is in the description below. You get your name at the end of the credits. You get ad-free content. You get never before seen videos that are never going to be uploaded to YouTube. You get videos days in advance. But you can call in anytime and leave a question at the number 725-253-0264. Keep that number. Leave it in your phone. Usually, did I just get a call right now? No, that'd be really funny if I did. Usually, I start off with a topic, and then we get into some voicemails. But we're actually going to do the voicemails first, because one of the voicemails leads into one of my topics. So I'm going to take this number off the screen for now. If you want to, pause it and write this number down somewhere, please do. But we're going to get into our first voicemail here. And like I said, if you want to be one of these people, just call in and leave a voicemail. Super easy. Okay. Here is the first one that we're going to listen to.
Hello to one of my favorite Raider YouTubers. This is Chris Ramos again. I have another question. This time it's about the defensive back room. So, with our young guys that we have in place, including our free agent pickups and Stokes, what are the odds the Raiders go after another defensive back like Jair Alexander or Jalen Ramsey? We have some cap space left. I personally think we should use that cap space to give our players the contracts they deserve. For example, Carlson, Miller, and Jacoby Myers. But if our cornerback room still looks weak, do you think it's wise to pick up a Jair Alexander or trade for Jalen Ramsey and give them the money they want? Thanks, bud. You have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, Christopher Ramos. I was looking for, I think he's on this side. Yeah, Christopher Ramos is a patron, so he has the ability to call in live, but right now he doesn't want to. He's just leaving voicemails. Totally fine, but shout out to Christopher Ramos and my other patrons right here. Good question about the cornerback room, because it's definitely an area of concern. And I tried to do my best, by the way, to not formulate full thoughts on these questions. Like, I screen them to see if I want to answer them, if they're safe to put on YouTube or whatever. And then I kind of try to forget about them. So here's my off-the-cuff thoughts on Jair Alexander and Jalen Ramsey and the idea of adding to the cornerback room. Do we need to add another cornerback? Here's my issue, Christopher. You cannot in one day go from a 4-win team, and I get it. We didn't have a quarterback. We had a lot of injuries. It's pretty rare to go from 4-win team to Super Bowl contender. And if you look at any roster in the National Football League, even the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm sure they have fans that will tell you, we definitely need another so-and-so, right? We need another tight end or whatever. Every team is going to have holes. We cannot do everything we can in one off season to go from the bottom of the barrel to, every part of the roster has every type of player that we need, corner to tight end to safety to left guard. You are going to have holes in your roster. And I think as of right now, I'm completely content rolling into this season with the moves that we've made. If we added a corner and didn't add Jermaine Pratt, I'd feel the same way. But we added Jermaine Pratt, so I'm cool with the linebacker situation. The corner situation, I'm not thrilled with. But that's okay. Like I said, you cannot go into a season with the perfect roster. And I think you hit the nail on the head. with what you said about Daniel Carlson, Jacoby Myers, and Colton Miller. I think the priority should be rewarding the homegrown talent that we have and extending those guys before going to get a Jair Alexander or Jalen Ramsey. Now, if they do one of those two things, I'll be championing it because it will be a good move. So do we need another corner? Probably. Do we have to go get one for me to be satisfied with this offseason? No. Because, again, we needed either a linebacker or a corner. They went linebacker, which is what I said they were going to do, because the reports coming out said they are happy with the cornerback room more than the linebacker room. You can't go into every season with the ideal roster. And I think as of right now, this team, the way it's currently constructed, is going to improve dramatically. And you don't know what you're going to get with the Jalen Ramsey on the Raiders or Jair Alexander on the Raiders. You already know what you have in Jacoby, Colton Miller, and Daniel Carlson. So it's a calculated risk to allocate your funds to one of the two guys not on the roster, even if it is an area of need, rather than to give it to somebody that you already know that's a proven commodity, that's a really good player. And Jair and Jalen are really good players too. No knock on them. And like I said, if we make the move, I'll be championing it. But then it would slightly concern me that one of those three guys, Daniel Carlson, Colton Miller, or Jacoby Myers, just might get short-ended with the stick. But that's a great question, and it's totally valid. The cornerback room could be an area of concern, but we've got Jacorian Bennett, who I trust. Other than that, it's kind of a fall-off. I don't know about these veterans like Darnay Holmes and Eric Stokes. D-Cam didn't play well last year, but maybe he could take a step. And Darren Porter has the physical attributes, but we don't know if he can perform at an NFL level yet. He probably can't right now, and that's okay. He doesn't have to right now. Jacorian Bennett took a little bit of time as well. So we'll see. Only time will tell. I will say my faith in Pete Carroll being able to coach up one position on defense that could play above their potential is corner over any other position, right? When you think about the Legion of Boom, it was that secondary was insane. Earl Cambus, I just said. Who in the world is Earl Cambus? Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, and Maxwell. That's what I was going for. And I said Earl Cambus. We're just going to move on from that. Thank you for the question, Christopher Ramos. Okay, the next voicemail here is a long one, but that's okay. We're going to listen to it, and we're going to do our best to answer it.
Rodney, long-time watcher, first-time caller. First of all, just want to say we are stoked that you bring us content every day. Your commitment to the Raiders and your YouTube channel is just insane, man. We all really appreciate you and what you're doing, and it's really refreshing to have somebody out there who's an honest content creator and not trying to, just do beer bongs. But anyway, to my actual question, or I just wanted to get your opinion on maybe the Raiders fan base as a whole. I've been a fan for 35 years now. It's been nothing but unwavering love for the Raiders. But as a Raiders fan, you got to be a little bit delusional and a little bit crazy. After losing so much, we're just in this position where we have so much hope in the offseason. Hype is high. We're at this point where, so much changes have been happening, and we're bombarded with all these coaches and all this other stuff. And at the beginning of every season, I am very stoked. And then the season happens and, doesn't shake out the way that we want, or we get emotional. As you saw last year when we, we're losing 10 games straight, and then we win a game, and then everybody doesn't know how to feel about it. So I just wanted you to speak to maybe the stableness of this franchise now coming into this season, and what you think Raider Nation will reflect. Will we be the unwavering yet very emotional and tepid kind of fan base? Or do you think that because the front office and this team has some stability, maybe we can elevate to like a faith-based actual trust in our team? Anyway, love what you do, man. Keep on rocking in the free world. See ya.
Okay, first of all, thank you for the question. Thank you for such kind words. I really appreciate it. We didn't get a name there, I don't believe, right? But insightful question. And this is where my article is going to come into play here. I actually don't think I have my screen pulled up. Hold on one second. Bang. Okay. All right. So, where do I even begin with that? Here's what I'll say. You're right. To be a Raider fan at this moment in the world, 2025, you have to have a screw loose because it means that you are there no matter what, right? And we've seen a lot of loss. And because we've seen a lot of loss, we've been conditioned to be so excited at the idea of new, right? We finally won with Jack Del Rio. Then we had a bad season. John Gruden was new. We were excited. He kind of got fired out of the blue. We lost a little bit. We won a little bit. Then it was Josh McDaniels. That was new. And we were like, okay, we got Ziegler. Oh, what's he going to do? He was terrible. Antonio Pierce. Okay, now let's see. And now it's Pete Carroll, right? So we're conditioned to feel this way about any new regime. It has to go really badly, really fast for us to instantly get off the bandwagon. And I think even Josh McDaniels for a little bit had people fooled because he got rid of Derek Carr. And a lot of people were like, finally, at least we're just going to change it up at quarterback. And with the age of the internet, you're always going to have emotional people. Doesn't matter how good we play. Doesn't matter how bad we play. It's going to be up. It's going to be down, right? But caller, whose name I don't know, I loved your question, especially at the end when you said, do you think this fandom can raise itself to a heightened level of faith-based positivity? I don't remember the exact word you said. Emotion, maybe. I do think Raider Nation, now seeing how an organization feels like it should be run, because I know I'm beating a dead horse here. The reason to be excited about the people that we have in the positions that they're in, except for John Spytek, is that they've already been successful at those positions. Chip Kelly, Patrick Graham are great coordinators. They are the coordinators. They're not the head coach. Pete Carroll is a great head coach. He's not the GM. He's the head coach. John Spytek, we need a little bit of faith with him, but as of right now, everything he's done is like exactly what we all wanted him to do for the most part. I do think this year more than ever, the fandom is excited, but also understanding of what realistic expectations are. You're going to have your people that say 11 games, AFC West champions, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but it's not likely. I think if we win 8 or 9 games and we look pretty competitive, for the most part, Raider Nation's going to go, job well done. On to the next season. Let's keep building. You're going to have your people that scream and yell, and you're going to have your people that are uber excited to win 9 games. But I think right in the sweet spot, if we win 8 or 9 games, especially with what we saw with Antonio Pierce and Luke Getsy, that was a train wreck. And we're indebted to AP for what he did, making that interim season watchable, even though he played us right out of getting Jane Daniels. We saw what a really bad team looks like. And that team still won 4 games. So now transitioning to this season, I do think we have a different mindset going into this season. I do think it's okay to feel the hype because it just feels normal. Every time it felt new, but it never felt like any other team. It was like, oh, we're doing something different. And now it's like, no, Tom Brady's won 7 championships. So he's like, let's do a little bit of what that was in New England or Seattle, right? And I think now we will raise our awareness of what this team should do. No one thinks we're going to win the Super Bowl. No one should think that. And I do think that's going to show itself. If we come out here week 1 and we lose by 30, that's going to be tough to swallow. I don't foresee that happening, but week 1s are always weird, so it's a bad example. But week 2, for example, against the Chargers, if we play that game tight and we lose 31-28 on a field goal to the Harbaugh Chargers, I think it's going to be like, God damn, we should have won that game, but we were competitive and we played our tail off. And it's going to feel like that most of the season. Whether we win the games or lose the games, it's going to be like we're in the right direction. And I do think that the fan base is going to reflect that. Like I said, you're going to have your emotional people, but it is what it is. You're always going to have those emotional people. Excellent question. I would say my favorite question so far, which kind of transitions me before we get into the last voicemail, of an article that just came out today on BR that mentions the credibility that the Raiders finally have after trading for Geno Smith, which kind of bleeds into what you were saying about our perception as fans of the team. This is Julia on BR. This was today, June 17th. NFL execs say Geno Smith gives Raiders instant credibility, after Seahawks trade. At least one NFL executive believes the Las Vegas Raiders gain instant credibility under center by trading for former Seattle Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith earlier this offseason. Geno gives them instant credibility at the position, and Pete and Geno seem to have good chemistry together, so it's a good way for both of them to start. An anonymous NFL team executive told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. The executive continued, I figure they will look to draft a quarterback in the next few years, but for now, they have the answer. And I talked about that a little bit with his age, that Pete Carroll said he's not a 34-year-old quarterback because he hasn't played that much, so his wear and tear on the body is not that bad. Smith reportedly agreed to a 2-year extension, which is worth up to $85.5 million, and will keep him under contract through the 2027 season shortly after his trade to Las Vegas. The Raiders are likely hoping that the contract will give them multi-season quarterback stability for the first time since the Derek Carr era. Neither Gardner Minshew nor Aiden O'Connell managed to win the full-time starting job as they struggled with injuries last season. Minshew was healthy most of the year, and he just struggled with being a terrible quarterback. Minshew has since left free agency to join the Kansas City Chiefs as Patrick Mahomes' backup, while O'Connell is on track to serve as the second-string option behind Geno Smith during his third season in Las Vegas. By the way, I saw a ranking that said Gardner Minshew was the fourth best backup in the league and that Aiden O'Connell wasn't even in the top 10. That person should be checked for mental illness. Smith ranked fourth in the NFL with 4,320 passing yards last season as he led the Seahawks to a 10-7 record and somehow didn't make the playoffs. The quarterback told The Athletic's Ted Nagin in May that his experience learning new systems under changing offensive coordinators in Seattle would help him adjust to working with new OC Chip Kelly in Nevada. Won't give too many details, but we're looking to be explosive and efficient, Smith said in May. Raiders fans will get another look at their new offense with Smith when the team returns for training camp in July. And I cannot wait for training camp because it gives me more stuff to talk about. So look, I hope that kind of puts a bubble on that question of, will the fans raise their level of fandom to a realistic approach? I think the more credible we look, the more credible the fan base becomes in their opinions of our team. And now we move on to the last voicemail.
Hey, Rodney. Love your show, man, and thanks for all the great content. My name is James Boyle. I live in upstate New York, and I've bled silver and black now for 50 years. Unfortunately, for the past 22 years, I've been on life support and bleeding out. But anyway, with that being said, last year we were on our way to getting the number one pick overall in the draft until we won 2 games towards the end of the season, which, of course, pushed us back to pick 6. I still was, of course, ecstatic that we were still able to get Genty with that pick. But my question to you is, if we did not win those 2 games and still had the first overall pick in the draft, do you think Spytek and Carroll would have still picked Ashton, or do they go in a different direction? And if so, who do you think they would have taken? Okay, thanks a lot, and I hope I can hear your thoughts on that. Bye.
Well, guess what? James Boyle from upstate New York. You will hear my thoughts on that. First of all, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I am also on life support as a Raider fan, but we're hanging in there. We're on that ventilator. Phenomenal question. I love questions like this that make me think a little bit about the what-ifs, the multiverses of the Raiders if they don't beat the Jacksonville Jaguars and New Orleans Saints to end the season there. First of all, before I get into that, I just want to say, go back and look. Everybody was talking about when we beat the Jags, oh no, we lost our chance to draft Shedeur Sanders. Could have drafted him. I don't know if you guys saw the draft. Could have had him. I just think that sometimes people get a little hysterical when you win quote-unquote meaningless games because they think they know who's going to go in the top 5, and then the draft board shakes out a certain way and it doesn't work like that. I have never been pro-tank. Now, this isn't an exactly 1-for-1 because there's a draft lottery, but I'm a Utah Jazz fan. And they just put me through the worst season of franchise history, pretending that Lauri Markkanen and John Collins and Sexton were injured, and they weren't, and they got fined for it. And they lost the most amount of games in the history of the Utah Jazz, an organization that for most of its existence has been nothing but a winner. And they tried to get Cooper Flagg, and they fell to 5. And they'll never do that again. It's been said in press conferences that they'll never tank again. And I think there's an element of karma to all this. If you lose games on purpose, which, by the way, nobody in the NFL is trying to lose games on purpose. Even the people out there are trying their hardest. If you lose games on purpose, it comes back to bite you in the butt. Not saying that the Bears did that, but the Bears had the first pick in the draft 2 years ago, and they took a quarterback who's what? The 4th best quarterback, probably? It might be too early to say that, but Jaden's definitely better. The jury's still out on Drake May. Drake May could be better than Caleb Williams. He looked kind of decent, didn't he? Bo Nix made the playoffs. And Michael Penix, I think, is going to be really good too. It was almost a Las Vegas Raider. Now, if we don't win those games and we have the first pick in the draft, James wants to know, do we go Genti? I don't think we do. I think when you're picking that high, you almost have to go best player available. Now, this comes down to how did they feel about Cam Ward? Because I personally, even if I was a Tennessee Titan, I wouldn't have drafted Cam Ward just because he would have been like the 5th best quarterback last year in that draft class. Now, that means he still probably would have been pretty decent, but you could have had an absolute game changer in Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. And I don't hate giving Will Levis one more year. And if he stinks, then you have a blue chipper in Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, and you're still picking in the top 5. And next year's quarterback class is 100,000 times better than this year's quarterback class. So with that same logic, if we traded for Geno Smith and we weren't going Cam Ward, which is a big if, but let's just pretend that that's not the case, I do think they would have drafted Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter in that order before Ashton Genti. I think they had their big board was probably Cam Ward at 1, even though I'm saying they wouldn't have taken him, and then Abdul and Travis Hunter, and then Genti after that. And I think I would have been okay with that. Those guys can change the trajectory of your franchise just like a running back can, but the shelf life of a defensive end is much higher than the shelf life of a running back. And Travis Hunter is just like a play we've never seen before. He could play wide out. He could play corner. I don't know what he's going to do in Jacksonville. Good luck to Liam Cohen to figure that out. But if I had to put money on it, I would say they would have taken Cam Ward or Abdul Carter over Ashton Genti. But I think, all things considered, I'm cool with Genti being on the team. And I'm happy that they took him. But I don't think they would have taken him 1 overall. I think that would have been a mistake. So look, those were the 3 voicemails that I had. Let me put this back up on the... Oh my God. Disregard everything that just happened there. Let me put that back on the screen. 725-253-0264. If you want to call whenever, literally whenever, leave a voicemail. You're going to hear it. I might get to it on the show. If you want to become a patron, that link is in the description below, so you can call in live. Here are my patrons right here. Shout out to all the beautiful peeps that are my $5 or $10 patrons. I'd probably make the $10 ones like a different color or something. Maybe I'll do that. Also, hit that subscribe button if you could. It really helps a lot. Hit that like button, comment away, and please be sure to subscribe. Like I said, it's free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.